Well, joining us right now is Ben Schachter. Bloomberg ranks him a top analyst for his coverage of Google. He rates shares a buy with a price target of $650, and he joins us in studio. Ben, good to have you here. Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
So what are you expecting to hear from Google at their meeting, and what are they going to be pressed on from the shareholders?
I don't think the shareholder meeting is really that critical. These are somewhat formalities at this point, but I do think that shareholders, broadly speaking, investors broadly speaking, are really looking for the company to describe how they're going to move beyond just core search.
I mean, what do you want to hear them doing?
Well, really, there are 4 key areas that they're working on: display, mobile, video, and enterprise. Each of those areas has tremendous potential, but the company needs to figure out how they can actually move the needle in terms of their revenue base now.
That's a good point. I mean, mobile, everybody's wondering and watching Google so closely to see what they do in this area, but if you take a look at Nexus 1, I mean, we're getting very few details about how successful this has been.
Well, the Nexus 1 has been successful in some ways, in the sense that it's really driven the market forward. You see other phones from HTC and others coming along now and really pushing the mobile experience forward. In theory, if more people are using mobile to access the internet, Google can win.
All right, but can Google do what Apple's been doing so successfully when it comes to mobile?
I don't think you're going to see Google really making a push into hardware. I mean, I think they sort of tried it in a tepid sort of manner with Nexus 1. It didn't work out in certain ways, but I think that the question is, can they get people to use their services on mobile devices, on an iPhone, on a phone from HTC, et cetera?
There's still so many questions. I mean, in terms of whether or not they can pursue these alternate revenue streams.
Well, absolutely. I mean, mobile in particular, it's a great opportunity, but also a great threat. And it's very nascent in terms of how people are using mobile to get to the internet. We're going to see how this develops over time. Clearly a great opportunity for them, but also meaningful threats there.
Ben, do you feel like they have the right management in place to explore these opportunities?
Overall, they've done a tremendous job so far with what they've done on core search. They're certainly pushing ahead in each of those 4 areas. You know, again, it's early in all of these, and we need to see them push forward. I think investors are a bit frustrated in terms of how long it's taking to push forward, but I do think there are opportunities there.
Well, I'm curious, too, if you think they're a little bit frustrated in terms of the stock. Just looking at Google shares, they're down about 18% so far this year. Compare that with something like Apple, which is up about 24%. Take a look at the 1-year perspective. Google's up about 30%. Meanwhile, you've got Apple up about 120%. So that outperformance by Apple makes sense to you?
Well, it makes sense. I mean, the market is deciding that makes sense. The question is, can Google move forward from here? And I think everyone's looking at it and trying to figure out how do they really juice revenues beyond just this core-based search. If they can't figure out how to do that, it's going to be difficult to really see the stock outperform significantly.
All right. So in terms of what the shareholders you think are going to press the most on, it's going to be the alternative revenue streams.
Yeah, I think just broadly speaking, the strategy of how you drive more revenue beyond this search. And those alternative revenue streams, everyone knows what they are,
right?
But we don't see them moving forward as fast as people would like.
What do you see as the biggest risk to Google at this point?
I think Apple and how people are using mobile to access the internet. If people continue to sort of only use applications, and you hear so much about the App Store and these kind of things,
right.
If people use that and don't use the open internet, then you don't necessarily need to search for things in the same way you had on a traditional PC experience.
You've got a buy rating on the stock, and with so many questions out there, why do you have that buy rating?
Well, I still think the core does provide a good, solid foundation of what this company is worth. And I think beyond that, the question is, what are people willing to pay for those 4 emerging revenue streams we talked about? Right now, you're essentially getting most of those for free. Well, time will certainly tell. All right, we're going to leave it there. Hey, Ben, thank you so much. Ben Schachter breaking down that Google shareholder meeting.